Sometimes you think you're stuck because you haven't found the answer yet. But maybe the answer doesn't arrive all at once. Maybe life keeps bringing you back to the same memories, the same questions, the same pain. Because every return shows you something you weren't ready to see the first time. So for me, I've been really struggling recently the past few weeks to complete this chapter that I'm writing in my book. And one of the things, like, I've got a wee blessing I do with my water. Got some crystals and stuff, and I bless my water. But one of the phrases I keep saying to myself is, any time, any inspiration, or any resources will come to me naturally, intuitively. Now, with inspiration, like, since I've started on this YouTube channel, since I started writing my book, every time I'm finishing one thought or one like script or whatever, just the next one seems to appear. So, like, I feel as if I've found myself in alignment and stuff, and that's just a bit of proof for it. So when I'm saying there about I've struggled to get moving forward with this last chapter, that sometimes the writing or the thinking is just not enough. You need to actually go and live your life as well. So that's basically what happened. I was just kept, like, anytime I sat down to write, I was just feeling really tired, and I was like, oh no, I'll need to just come back again tomorrow, or something just came up. So I went down to my friend Lance's 40th birthday party in Scotland. We're playing the next day, so I wore my kilt, and instead of packing my kilt in the hand luggage, I wore it. So it gives you a wee bit of benefit, because in the airport I got a free coffee from Pret a Manger. That just says, like, any people with, like, wearing kind of Scotland gear would get a free coffee. So that was a bit of a bonus. And then also, just somebody just randomly asked, oh, where was I going? Am I watching the game and stuff like that? Thought I was going to America, which I wish. But yeah, so I got myself in the airplane, and I thought I was being able to get a wee bit of time, like an hour's like flight down from Glasgow to London. I can get a wee bit of time to write. But when I'm writing through, like, with the help of ChatGPT, because I'm using it as a mirror, and any thoughts that I've got, I'm putting it in and I'm getting feedback, and then I'm looking at it again from different angles. So it really is really helped my healing process to look at things that I might not have looked at before. But obviously in the airplane, it doesn't have Wi-Fi. So right away that kind of scuppered my whole plans that I was, like, trying to set out a new chapter. I was trying to get back and forth and try to unpack everything. So I just sat back, put my music on, a wee bit of Ibiza music, that gives me a good mood. And then I just looked at the magazine that they have. So just flicking through the magazine with my wee headphones on, and then I come through an article that was like vineyards in the south of France, and it just looks nice. Do you know what I mean? Like, vineyards, nice wooden tables, somebody's with a wee glass of wine and stuff. And then sure enough, as soon as that page got turned, the air hostess came over. And obviously I've worked in hospitality, I've worked in sales, so you have that kind of subtle kind of sell, that soft sell. So as soon as she came over, do you want anything? Of course I was going to order a wee glass of white wine or something. So yeah, sat with a glass of wine, the guy beside us ordered some Maltesers, and right away he offered us a Malteser. So instead of, like, sometimes you could just be not feeling social, just being like, oh no thank you, and then back into your headphones, I took my headphones off and yeah, let's have a Malteser, and started chatting to them. And what I found was the way the conversation went, it's just natural. So, like, one person says one thing, because obviously I having the kilt on. That was the start of the conversation. Oh, where are you going? I was saying I'm going down to see my friend, then I'm going to watch the Scotland game after it. And then he just says that, I asked them where they're going, and basically both of them live quite close to Luton Airport. So the guy is Scottish, but he's got an English wife. So then obviously that naturally led on to me saying, I had an English wife and I lived in York. And then one story led on to the other, and then by the end of it, it was like talking about, oh, we split up, and then started this healing journey, started the YouTube channel, writing a book. So it just naturally led on to different things. And I kind of jokingly said to them as well, I was like, oh, I wish you maybe wish you never offered me a Malteser, because I kind of just went into it, the kind of depth of the story. I think as well, because going through writing a book, talking on the YouTube channel about the same kind of subject for quite a good few videos now, about the healing journey. It is quite a lot, it is quite a bit intense, but it is just what's at the tip of my kind of mind as such. So when somebody asks, oh, how are you, and the kind of story always ends up naturally going that way. But by the end of it, what I kind of realised is that we end up reverting back to the start of the conversation. And that's when I look back, that's what I was thinking. I was kind of smiling at myself, because, and that was like, you come back to the start of the conversation about, going down to my friends for like the football, and then like another part of it. But it was just before we touched down. So that's what I noticed with myself. It's like when I'm telling a story, when I'm writing like the book as such, it's like I'm starting off in one story, one thread, and it weaves and goes all over the place. But then it always comes back to the start. But it comes back to the start with a kind of a different interpretation, or a different insight, a different way of thinking about the original like conversation or question. And yeah, like that kind of got me thinking of, that's what happened with my Aunt Celine when she passed away like 2 years back. At first I was trying to find meaning of why she had to die, finding meaning of like, because like people say that like if somebody dies young, that they've maybe had a fulfilling life. And that's what I kind of started looking at about my aunt, because she has had a fulfilling life. She was like an amazing person, and she was kind of the glue of the family, really. And that's what I kind of went down. I followed a thread about that kind of like the meaning of life as such, because I felt as if I was living the opposite. So that's how I started that thread. But the more I went down to it, the more I kind of went to like how our parties were. And then it was about like thinking about the parties, and then it was how to create an atmosphere, and then it was like the hospitality from it, and then a feeling of belonging, like how we all kind of like came together, like family, friends, and everybody kind of went away feeling a lot lighter. Anytime my aunt says we're going to have a party, everybody was up for it, and everybody was definitely coming. Like there was nobody that really ever never showed up. Everybody that said they were going to go, they were definitely going to be there, because it was such an amazing feeling, such an amazing experience. So that's like, for me, when I started in all these threads, I didn't start with a plan to make a business plan based on Aunt Celine's parties, basically. I just, as I said, like tried to make sense of like my aunt living a fulfilling life, and really looking at myself and seeing that I was living the opposite. Because obviously, like talking about, do you know what I mean, creating an atmosphere, feeling a sense of belonging, hospitality, I kind of delved into my past of when I was like that. That's who I've always been. And then that kind of led on to a story that with my first wife, basically I opened up a restaurant, Pisano, in Glasgow, and I was assistant manager, and it was like an amazing experience for me, and I loved it. I was passionate, I was aligned, I was doing what I feel as if my kind of purpose is in life, of being there with people and hosting and things like that. But life kind of took me down a different path, and at the time I kept going out for drinks after work. I wasn't able to kind of say no, or not to have that as part of my lifestyle, basically. So she basically kind of gave me a ultimatum: it's me or the job. And that was when my oldest son was like still in her tummy, basically. So yeah, that's when I kind of get taken away and done truck driving, which is the absolute opposite of hospitality. Now, I did truck driving because I had the license, and I felt years before that I needed something else just to fall back on. But obviously I didn't really think it through. I just thought of something like you can maybe make a wee bit more money. But yeah, like basically, as I said, with the whole linking back to my aunt's like parties, and then me working in hospitality, me trying to unpack when I was aligned and passionate, it's sometimes you don't notice things until you see the opposite. As I said, like with the truck driving, it's the complete opposite. I was being alone, I became more of a recluse, I was doing like unsociable hours and stuff, and then your personality gets affected, because you get your personality from the 5 people you hang about with the most, but it's also with the content you consume, like obviously motivational speakers, or reading books, or YouTube channels and all the rest of it. But if I was on my own, and then I never really saw my friends that much at the weekends because I had kids and stuff, that your personality is definitely affected by it. Whereas when I was working in Pisano, I was like the manager, I was like training all the staff, I was talking to all the customers. So every single like hour of every single day, working there 5 days a week, I was up there friendly, smiling. You don't understand how much smiling actually affects your life, because I feel as if I don't know how to smile properly anymore. And yeah, and it's like I miss it. I miss the feeling of like smiling and joy, and yeah, and that's like a kind of part of that, like as in you're getting taken out like of the opposite of who you are, basically. So yeah, like another thread was that, because like obviously like what is me working in Pisano got to do in my auntie's parties? Do you know what I mean? There's nothing. But like every time I went on these threads, I came back with something, a better understanding of me, or a better understanding of like how it could be related, linked. And then the first time my wife came to my aunt's parties, she basically said to me, she's like, "John, this is awesome, like, but I feel as if we're meant to carry on this mantle of hosting these kind of parties." Now, that was before my aunt was really that like ill, or before she passed away. And like after my aunt passed away, there has been that element missing in our family. She was the glue of the family. She was the one that hosted parties. Now, some of my other, like my cousins, have been hosting parties, but they're not the same, and we're not inviting everybody and stuff. And I feel as if that seed that my wife planted was the seed that actually birthed my vision in the first place. The whole creation of Slàinte Resorts, it was birthed from that seed of, I think we should be the ones that carry on that mantle. And now that my aunt's gone, but I remember saying to my aunt one time that what does she see herself doing? Especially, obviously, I've kind of said that or maybe expecting some kind of external kind of funds that would help. But she kind of said that she saw herself on TV of helping to heal people. And that's what she said to me. So for me, like, obviously after she passed away, and her vision, her dream of seeing herself on TV, and it's like, for me, I'm like, well, I want to make sure that that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to showcase it on YouTube, this Slàinte channel, of me building Celine resorts and hosting it and helping to heal people. And for me, like my aunt and my mother aunt actually did past life regression before, and they went and get taken up to the kind of spirit realm. I've done past life regression as well, and they kind of said that I was in their soul group, like, because you choose your family, you choose what life you come into. So I think it was my aunt actually, it might have been my mum, that they get asked the question, what is the purpose of your soul group here? And they get said that they were put here to help heal people. So that was the kind of purpose of our soul group as such. So immediately when I heard that, at the time, this is like years ago, it's like before I even went to Australia, I think, but immediately, like, I just looked at myself and who I was at the time, and that was me being in hospitality, doing club anti-fairy repping, like being happy and friendly. And that's what I thought is like, joy is a form of healing. So, like, for me, with what I was saying about the Celine resorts there, that, yeah, like, I do want to help heal people. Obviously, just me even going through this healing journey as such and sharing it on here and writing a book about it and stuff, and then obviously all the wee principles that I found, 1% rules and 90-day resets and stuff. I'm going to do a wee like kind of like week program, like a kind of 13-week program or something with it, to help, because it definitely helped me, especially going through the kind of heartbreak, 3 days of despair, and building yourself up from zero again. Like, yeah, rock bottom basically. So, like, that is like healing. But what I found writing, coming to the end of the chapter here, coming to the end of the book, is that I want joy in my life. I want to be smiling more. I want to be meeting people. And for me, that's what my aunt's house was, the parties, where everybody was just can't wait to be there. Like, nobody ever was like not showing up. Everybody was there, and everybody was just, they were excited to be there. So they're all on form, they're all bringing their personalities, like who they really are. And like, if you went to somebody else's party, like even if it was the family, nobody would be the same. It was as if everybody stepped up a gear when they came to Celine's parties. Like, the drink was flowing, everybody was just, they didn't care if it was your family, because like sometimes you wouldn't do things in front of family in case they thought different of you, but everybody was just like loving it and being their true selves. So that's what I mean about what I want to create. I want to create a space that everybody can just bring their kind of top game and let loose and have fun. But then also, because I've had the experience of being a couple of weeks into rep, working in hospitality, drinking a lot, partying a lot, but then having problems with alcohol. And even the past couple of weeks, like after my friend's party there, I came back and I was like hungover for 3-4 days. I became a wee bit depressed. I hurt my shoulder. I couldn't go back to the gym. I wasn't really writing and stuff. I kind of was out of my kind of flow state for like 2 weeks. So I kind of came to the conclusion, I just can't really do this because the drinking kind of thing, because it's just taking me away from what I'm kind of really wanting to achieve. So when it comes to the Slàinte resorts, yeah, I'll have, obviously, we'll sell alcohol and stuff, but I don't want it to be just that. In fact, there's I seen a story that there's they found something, a compound that they actually extracted, and it's the feeling that you get when you're tipsy on alcohol, the initial buzz that they're trying to, so I looked it up, and they're going to try to get the licenses, proper licenses for it, and it might come into the market next year, 2028. So if that's the case, I'm on my way to building Slàinte resorts, then I want to get a drinks company as well, that we could get drinks, that we add that wee compound in, and it gives you the wee tipsy feeling without the problems of alcohol. But yeah, the kind of reason I was kind of saying about that is the resorts, as I said, the healing resorts, being a bit of joyfulness. Like for me, like getting back out of heartbreak and getting myself to find myself again, to find Jolly John, wee Righto again, that is like coming out for walks and getting into exercise and loads of small wee things. That's what I want the resorts to be. More adventure, like places that you can bring your kids, all that kind of thing. Yeah, I kind of lost the thread, and normally this conversation is about looping back, because that's what I found when I was talking about the story on the plane, was that you end up coming back with a kind of newer kind of idea or concept. So yeah, like with the Slàinte resorts, the Slàinte parties, that's what ended up happening. Is like every time I drifted into a different thread, I came back with something, and then eventually the Slàinte resorts was birthed from going down all these different threads. Now, as I said with my wife, like she basically says that she believes that one day we'll take on that mantle. And with my wife as well, when we were down in York, she got me introduced me to just come out for walks like I am just now. Like, I absolutely love that, but I never did it. I was living in the city and I never came out for walks. And yeah, like when I came out for the walks, there's something that stirred inside me. It was like a memory of what, like my childhood. In my childhood, my most fondest memories was living up in Aviemore, up in the Highlands. And it was, just being out in nature and stuff. And then that was another thread that I went down into that, and it was like, right, well, this is why I was like, right. Because before I was kind of wanting to live somewhere hotter, but my wife kind of got me to fall in love with Scotland again. She's saying that she wanted to live in Scotland, and obviously I've told you about the wolf story and all these kind of different connections. Like my wife used to come out, she used to love going up to Scotland and camping and stuff. So yeah, like you always meet people in your life and send you on the right path. And for me, that was another part of, I went down that route, that path of looking at Scotland. And then it was like, well, why don't I do the Slàinte resorts in Scotland? We're from Scotland. As I said, with the souls, like we chose to be here. We chose to kind of like have our lives in Scotland. So there must be a reason for it. So yeah, that was another wee thread that kind of looped back to building the vision. Now obviously, as I said before about splitting up my wife, and after I hit the 3 days of despair and hit rock bottom, that I started my healing journey. And like I was really struggling with it. Like anytime I was sitting in the house, it was just too much for me. I had to get outside. And obviously because I did go walks with my wife, like in forests and stuff, that's what I first started doing, is just coming out for a walk, like going for a 2-hour walk just on my own, just to kind of clear my thoughts and like soak in all the kind of oxygen and stuff. So that was like how I started the walks, and then I was like, right, I'm gonna go and start doing exercises. So I started doing like 15-minute exercises, sit-ups and planks and stuff like that, push-ups, and then from that I kind of did a 3-day fast, and then tried to look into healthy breakfast, and then obviously started the YouTube channel. So it was just all small things that I just did one step at a time. It was like what I was saying about when Aunt Celine passed away, it was like following a thread, and with the healing journey, I didn't necessarily know where that healing journey was going to go. I didn't necessarily know that I was going to align myself with the person that I saw in my vision and embody that. And that's what's turned out to be. Because like every step was just taking one step, trying to get my thoughts away from like the heartbreak of splitting up my wife and stuff. And so every step, every kind of small routine that I added in was just one more step in the path to just, as I said, get rid of heartbreak and take my mind off things. But then, as I said, it kept bringing me back, kept returning to me, like I had something more. Like, I think I spoke about the pendulum effect, that I kind of went from one extreme to the next, to the kind of really like thinking of joy, and then really down to despair and heartbreak. And then every time I brought myself back up, it was a new baseline. So that was the same as like all these different principles that I kind of added them in, and then I had a new baseline that, like when I sat in the house myself, I wasn't like in my head that I needed to get out as such. I was eventually kind of calming my nervous system down, and it was a long process. It was quite hard to do. And then, like, obviously, as I said, those wee principles, like the 1% rule, that really kind of helped, because instead of me thinking I need to get better than now, like I'm a bit of a mess, it was like, all I need to do is do one thing, 1% better each day. And that just made it manageable. It made it easy enough to achieve, that like I was writing down my goals from the night before, what I want to achieve the next day, and every day I did something, I ticked them off. And doing like 2 skips a week at first with the YouTube channel, that was like a big sense of accomplishment, give you that dopamine rush. So those are the things that just kind of got me along the story, basically. And then I kind of came to the point that I did a video about alignment, and then one on embodiment. And it took me a while, because like at first I did a video of talking about alignment from the other side, as in not aligned. What would it be to be aligned? And I did the same as I did with my aunts, like understanding like what made my aunt's party so special, what made her life like meaningful, what was the purpose of life. And so I did that with myself, with the whole, when was I aligned? And that was like me looking at my past again. And then I was like, well, what pushed me out of alignment? What made my marriage break down? Do you know what I mean? And then like one of the things that she said is, I can't be with somebody just for their potential. Now, what I've just came to, like I watched a motivational video today, and the guy actually says that your potential is actually your life's purpose. So that phrase that my wife said, she maybe never really meant it that kind of deep a way, but she's basically spurred me on the path. She's pushed me onto the path of me finding my true purpose. And that's what I've actually done. It was like, what I realised is there was a gap of the person I saw in the vision of me building the Celine resorts, and the person I was showing up in the life with my wife. the reason why we split up. Basically, she says, "You're not my person." And that was when it always stuck to me, because in my head I was like, I was your person. We fell in love with each other. We married each other. So I was your person once. But I do agree I wasn't your person at the end, because I drifted so far away. Like, I got lost, and when I was trying to build a vision of Celine Resorts, like trying to unpack like the whole loss of my Aunt Celine, basically. It was a loss, it was a trauma. And from that loss I built that vision. But in the meantime I lost myself, because I got frustrated because it just didn't like happen the way I was expecting. I thought that as soon as I write down this business plan, as soon as I've got all the ideas out, that I'm just going to miraculously get the funding to build it and I can start my life. And I was always getting told next week. So the problem with that is when you're expecting something, you're building up your hopes. It's like that pendulum effect. Like every time the kind of day arrived, the expectation was hope that I could start my life. And then every day it was the same disappointment. Oh, it's next week, or like tomorrow kind of thing. So that was just my like my whole nervous system up and down. Lived like that for years and years. And obviously that's how my cup became 99% full, because that's where I was at in my head. I was just waiting for this like breakthrough, this point to release. But anything else, normal life, like adding into that, just made my cup overspill. So that affected the people you're with as well. If you're just like living with somebody and that's the way your mindset is, and you can't handle anything, you're not showing up for that person, you're not supporting that person, you're not giving that person what they deserve, a partner, like. And so I wasn't her person at the end. And I kind of did reach out to her. Well, nah, I won't bother. So that's in the next chapter. Yeah, basically I found myself again. But I've not just found myself, I've got rid of all the kind of bad habits and all the things that were really getting me down. Like I sat with the thoughts of them. As I said, I was working with ChatGPT, and normally with your thoughts, it's like your mind is all linear. So once you get it out on paper or writing it down, you're looking at it from a different angle. And then, like as I said in the last video, it was like talking about mirrors. And it's like, if you put a problem out there, you're seeing it like a mirror. And then you can, as I said, you can put yourself in different people's shoes and stuff like that, looking at it from all angles. So, like for me, all the problems I've had, I've got rid of them. I'm now the man capable of building Celine Resorts. I'm now the man capable of having a relationship and being that supportive person, being romantic, being there for them. So, yeah. Basically when she says you're not my person, I wasn't a person at the end. I was a person at the start, and I can certainly be that person again. But getting closure and moving on with your life, because even though that maybe in my head that's my conclusion, you can't force somebody. Somebody's got their own, everybody's got their own mind, their own choices. They've got their own set of beliefs and set of understanding and like images of somebody. So like I can't force her to see who I am now. I can't force her to see the person that she fell in love with in the first place. That's got to be her. So for me, like I did actually speak to her the other day, and I kind of got closure. I'll go into this more in the next video, but I managed to get the closure, and that was like from my understanding there. It's like, well, yeah, like I could possibly be your person in the future, but with the interactions with her, because I still have feelings for her, and she doesn't have feelings for me, that I'd probably do anything to get back with her, and probably sacrifice things. And that's what I realised. I was like, I would sacrifice too much just to get back with her. I'd sacrifice all the hard work that I've done over the past 7 months to build, to be the person I am now. So I've still got a wee bit of work to do with that part of it. To, just be a bit more, I don't know if the word's in love with yourself again, but build yourself back up to like a kind of more solid foundation, and to maybe not have feelings for her, so that if there was any possibility down the line that anything could happen, it would need to be from both of us coming from a fresh start, when there isn't any like feelings or like somebody's going to lose a part of themselves. Because when I broke up with my first wife, we dated another 2-3 times after it, and every time I went back to that relationship, she was more in control. Like, and by the end of it, I think she had like 95% control and I was 5%, and it was just lost myself basically. So for relationships to work, both people need to come in 50-50. You can't have somebody overpowering you or taking your power away from who you are, because like the whole thing about your potential, your purpose in life, that is you being in your power. And that's what I've found is, like, with finding the vision from my aunt like passing away, like from like losing her, and then obviously losing the love of my life, my wife. The two biggest breakthroughs I've had in my life have been through the two biggest losses in my life. And the first one from my aunt, it was building the vision, building the dream of what I want to build. But when I built that dream, I already had a vision of me being in it, walking through it, experiencing it, laughing and being joyful. And then the second one with my wife, when she says, I can't be with somebody for their potential. Now obviously I knew what my potential was. My potential was the person building these resorts and being the man standing there, chatting to people and leading, being a leader. And the person I was showing up in like normal daily life with her and my stepson was so far removed, so different from that potential. So that potential turned out to be my life's purpose. Because what I realised is, like, from both things, I found my vision and I found my, like, who I am from looking at my past. Because I said in a few other videos before that I thought I would have to be someone new to build this. But what I realised is I was just having to find who I really was, who I truly am. And that's powerful. That's like, when I sat and thought about that, that's when you're lining up your future vision, your future potential of who you are, with looking at your past of who you were before, and then realising they are the same person, and then understanding that the gap between you, the now, to the person in your dreams, that's your job now. And then that's what I realised, and starting doing all these small steps, coming out for forest walks, exercises, the 1% rule, like everything I've done, YouTube channel, book, writing out 25 things you want to achieve in the next 3 to 5 years and start doing them. So I wrote all this, I planned it all in my head, and then I embodied it. I stood, like I became me. I started doing that 1% better each day. But those things were, like as I said, the YouTube channel, the book, that's all things that was part of my vision. exercise and make myself look better again. That was all about me becoming more confident and being the man capable of building that vision. So that is, like, as I said, I've understood my life's purpose, my potential, and that is me embodying it now. So the whole thread, the whole chapter is really about the infinity symbol, because that's really predominant in my life, and this is what I feel as if it kind of means, is like, it's obviously the 8 symbol, isn't it? They kind of come back in a circle, come back to the beginning. And obviously chatting about the story on the plane, that what I found is that every time I went in a different thread, I always brought it back to a certain point, a certain story, and I brought more meaning back. So you can look at the starting story from a different angle, and it all ties in, it all connects. Like Aunt Celine passing away, building the vision, and then losing my wife, and building who I am because I wasn't showing up in life. They're all connected. It was all the same story. Me writing, like doing the YouTube channel, writing the book, it's all part of my journey. And this is just like, yeah, like it all returns back with meaning. It's as if the end's already written. I've already seen myself building the vision and then just working backwards, kind of thing. That, yeah, as I said, when I first started coming out for walks after splitting with my wife, I didn't know where this is going to take me. But I just knew it was kind of helping me. It was like leading me on the right direction. Because when my wife did take me out for walks, it kind of stirred a memory of me being in the Highlands, connecting to my past. So, yeah, that does look back again on itself, as taking you back to childhood memories. But yeah, I always end up chatting for loads and loads of times and that. So guys, I'm just going to leave it there again. So love yous and Slàinte. Ciao.